Hello from the Travel Tracker. Today's tip is for transportation admin about the calendar options that you can use and set in the Travel Tracker to determine who has the calendar tab, and if they have the calendar tab, which calendars they have visibility of. You can determine this by setting groups to have visibility of the calendars. So let's look at how to do that. You're going to start in your configuration tab and then select the option Other Setup Decisions. In your list of topics, you have one called Calendar Options. So if you click on that, it will expand that topic, and there you can see all of the different groups that you can check to give them visibility of the calendar tab and then of the calendar options. So let's look at these calendar options. The first question you have is to display the calendar tab itself to certain groups, and so we have our administrators, and this is going to be transportation administrators who are listed in the configuration tab and the administration options. Then we have finance. This is going to be users who are listed again in the configuration administration options as being in the finance department. Owners and approvers and site admin and school finance, of course, are all listed in the location tables. Fund approvers and fund payment are listed in the funding source table. Drivers are listed in the driver table. Nurses and child nutrition are also in the location table. Report authority are end users who are given the reports tab, and these are set up again in the configuration tab under your administration options. And then of course end users are any users who are registered but have no other authority in the system other than having the main tab and possibly the calendar tab, just to submit trip request. So you can choose which groups have the calendar tab itself by putting a check mark in the box beside that particular group. So notice now, if we uncheck one of these, they will continue to be unavailable then to receive the different types of calendars. So let me give you an example. So let's say that you do not want your end users to have a calendar tab. So if we uncheck end users here, then notice in the options for the other calendars, the vehicle calendar, the trip calendar, and the driver calendar, they're not checked and cannot have access to the individual calendars if they don't have the calendar tab itself. So if you need for your users to have a calendar, then the first thing you need to do is give them the calendar tab. Now, if you have given your users access to the calendar tab, then you can further determine which calendars they have access to by using the different check marks in the different groups of calendars. So the first calendar that we're displaying here is the vehicle calendar. So if you do not want certain users, certain groups to be able to see the vehicle calendar, you need to uncheck that particular group. So if you don't want, for example, the drivers to see the vehicle calendar, then you can uncheck that. There is one limitation in your vehicle calendar section here to limit the vehicle calendar for the vehicle owners. If you are going to give the vehicle calendar to your vehicle owners, but you only want them to see the trips that they are the owner of, then you would click yes here. The next calendar is the trip calendar, giving visibility of the trip calendar to certain groups. And again, if you don't want certain groups to see the trip calendar, you would uncheck, or you would check it if you want them to have that calendar. So maybe we definitely want end users to have the trip calendar, but maybe not the other two. And then finally we have the driver calendar. And again, check the groups that need to have access to the driver calendar to be able to see which drivers are working each day. Notice on the driver calendar there is a limitation here to if you are going to show the driver calendar to drivers, then you can limit the driver calendar to only see the trips that that particular driver is driving for. So the driver that's logged in will only see his or her trips on the driver calendar. Once you have decided which users are getting the calendar tab, and then you can further determine which calendars they actually see, then you want to be sure to click the Save button here on your options. So let's set up I can show you as an example. Let's set up a scenario that we're hiding the calendar tab. Let's say we're going to hide the calendar tab from end users. So I'm going to uncheck end users, and let's save and close this, and then I'm going to log in as an end user. Okay, so here is my screen logged in as an end user. Notice I only have the main tab. I do not have the calendar tab, so it's not an option to me. Now let's take a different look, and we will give the end user the calendar tab, but we're going to limit which calendars they can see. Okay, so I've logged back in now as a transportation administrator, and let me give the calendar tab to the end user. So this is my first just giving the calendar tab, but I'm not going to give the end user the vehicle calendar. I will give the end user the trip calendar, but I'm not going to give the end user the driver calendar. So I've made that selection. I'm going to save this, and again let's log in as that end user and see the difference. So now I am logged in again as the end user. Notice I have the main tab and the calendar tab. When I open the calendar tab, I only see the trip calendar. So I have limited access to that end user. I'm giving them the calendar tab, but only a certain calendar. So hopefully this is going to be really beneficial feature as you are making decisions about who has the calendar tab and which calendars are visible to the different groups. Be sure you go into your travel tracker, to your configuration tab, other setup decisions, calendar options, and be sure that you set your calendar options now according to what your district needs, and use this new feature to determine which groups have the calendar tab, and then within those groups which calendars they have access to. Thank you so much.